Hello, friends, and welcome back to Wake Up with Nat. I am your host, Natalie Kelly, and today we are going to talk about how to truly become unbothered and not care what other people think of you. And this is coming from a girl who used to literally be consumed by the thought of other people's opinions. I had someone actually text me the other day after my episode about my coming out journey at 25, how to navigate questioning your sexuality. And in that, I was talking about how although I, of course, wish at times I had come out sooner and known what high school would have been like if I wasn't forcing myself to date men, etc. But recognizing that my coming out journey would not have been as positive because I cared so much what other people thought of me in high school and in college. I was so insecure. Like, I came off as confident. Like, I definitely put myself out there as ASB president, cheer captain, like all of those things. But internally, I was so insecure. Like, literally my whole life was just consumed with what other people thought of me, trying to portray myself in a way people would like, and it was favorable and all of the things. And I had someone text me and she was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe that you used to be insecure," because she knows me as like this version of me. We like connected last year and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, like so insecure." And it's so crazy to look back on because I simply do not care anymore. Like, I can say that. Of course, I'm human and I have moments where I get caught up and I'm like, "Oh my God, how did someone maybe perceive what I said or how I portrayed myself?" Or especially like being in the social media world. But I can confidently say 90% of the time, I'm just doing me. I'm doing me. I'm doing it confidently. I'm vibing out here. And I'm like going on such a tangent already. No, Natalie, stop. Control yourself. It's like that TikTok sound where it's like the giggling and they're like, "No, not yet." That's me. That is literally me right now. Let me first say hi before we dive in. Come on, Natalie Nanners. Hello. It is a gloomy day here, and so we're going comfy cozy. We're going comfy cozy. I didn't expect it. This weekend, a 75-degree, perfect sunny weekend. I was gardening. I planted vegetables. First of all, I planted carrots like maybe a month ago. If you watch the YouTube vlogs, you saw that. They're sprouting, y'all. It worked. Just planted a strawberry plant and a tomato plant, and then seeds of, I'm like, "What, Natalie?" Seeds of snap peas, zucchini, and cucumber. So I'm hoping to have a harvest in the next few months. I grew up always having gardens. Like, my parents have always been huge gardeners. Like, I am so grateful for that. Like, I feel like my childhood has always just been like, "Hey, go get lettuce from the garden, go get carrots from the garden, go pick thyme, go pick rosemary, go pick blueberries." Like, we've always had gardens and grown a lot of our own food. And my parents live on Whidbey Island up in Washington, which Kate and I are actually headed to next week, which actually by the time you're watching this, I will most likely be there. And they have so many gorgeous gardens there too, like raised beds with tons of food and beans and peppers and onions and garlics. And it's just so fun to grow your own food. So I'm super excited. I've always dreamed of doing that myself. And hopefully we succeed in some of that. We also realized we have a peach tree, life-changing. There was a tree out. I'm like staring at it right outside my window. Is that the one? Yeah, that's the one. And we could not figure out what it was, but there were all these pits on the ground. And we were like, it doesn't really look like a fruit tree. So I don't know where all these pits are coming from. But Kate got one of those like tree scanner apps and was like, "It's literally a peach tree and there are tiny little fruits growing." Like, I already knew I liked this house when we decided to rent it. But if I had known there was a peach tree, game over. Incredible. Okay, last thing I'll say before we dive into today's topic is I did just start wearing my Ultra Human ring that they sent me. They sent it to me like a couple weeks ago, but ADHD, I did forget to set it up for a couple weeks. It was so easy to set up, and I ran with it for the first time yesterday, and it's super fun. I'm really liking it. Obviously, I've been wearing it for like 36 hours, but so far so good. It's so nice to just track my runs, especially when I run on the treadmill on the ring. The sleep score and the sleep data has been really interesting, and it's really motivating me to go to bed so much earlier tonight. Last night, it was like a Sunday night. We got caught up watching our show, and it was so fun and cozy. I do regret it a tiny bit. I'm sleepy today. So yeah, I'll keep y'all updated the further I wear it. Did that make sense? The longer I wear it. I will say it's like an interesting sensory thing to get used to, especially if my fingers are a little more swollen, like if I'm hot. Like, I will say on my run yesterday, I was like panicking a little because I was really hot and the ring was like not really coming off, which it didn't need to come off. And I knew it would come off when my fingers were not as swollen or put under cold water. So it's just like a weird sensory thing to get used to because I don't wear like rings this chunky normally, but I like it. I don't really know how to keep it from getting scratched when I lift. Somehow I didn't scratch it today, I don't think. But anyways, those are some updates. Now let's dive in. All right. Caring about what other people think. Like I said a couple of minutes ago, this plagued me for like my entire life. Definitely like, my middle school, high school years, even college, even early post grad, honestly, a little bit, but not as much because I was like kind of out of that social setting situation that is school. But for some context, I was homeschooled up until sixth grade. So I started public school in sixth grade. My brother started public school in ninth grade. And so I feel like with homeschool, I feel like in that age, like I was definitely younger and I definitely just didn't care as much because so much of my world was just at home, at dance, doing my sports, doing my hobbies and things like that. But then definitely the transition into public school, I think definitely played a role in then me becoming so much more hyper aware of what other people thought of me. It was the first time where I had to get dressed for school every day and get ready for the day. And I was just around so many peers for the first time. Still remember the first day of sixth grade, I came home and I just said, Mom, why are sixth grade girls so loud? Like, I was used to having like my afternoon tea while I did my homeschool. And I'm like, why are these girls screaming? So it was also this interesting transition of I knew I was a little different. I'd grown up a lot different. And then being like tossed into public school, I was like, okay, walk the fuck in. Like, become someone everyone will like. And I feel like that's really where my people pleasing took off rocket speed. And from there, it just spiraled and spiraled and spiraled into just wanting to be liked, wanting to be seen as good enough, smart, cool, fun, just all of the things where I was so disconnected. Like I truly did not know who I was. And when I reflect and like ask myself, like, how did I not know I was gay earlier? I'm like, girl, because you were in orbit. You were so hyper fixated on how everyone else perceived you and thought of you. Like there was no second for you to slow down long enough to question this reality, this facade you created for yourself simply in the name of being worthy, being enough, or what I perceived in that time as being worthy and being enough as, a 16, 17-year-old girl. Also looking back, being undiagnosed with ADHD, like there were so many things underneath this facade and in my body that I did feel different. Like I felt different inside. I felt different in social interactions. I just felt like everything felt harder, which makes sense now knowing I have ADHD. So although I didn't have the name, although I didn't understand I was neurodivergent, although I didn't understand I was gay, I felt different internally, and that freaked me out. Like that scared me. So instead of that being like, oh, maybe I should slow down long enough to be like, why do I feel different? I was like, okay, survival mode. I will now mold myself into whoever other people want me to be so that I can be popular and I can be liked and I can be well received and I can whatever. And so much about caring what other people think is just our human nature, right? Of course, we want to feel included. We want to feel seen. We want to feel heard. We want to feel like we're a part of something. We get along with people. Like it really is kind of this just survival mechanism in society of like, of course, we, to a degree, want people to like us, and that makes sense. Like that's not something to be ashamed of, but it becomes a problem when we start placing wanting to be liked by others above even liking who we are or knowing who we are in the first place. For so much of my life, I was also such a people pleaser. Like I never wanted to make others uncomfortable. I never wanted to put myself above others. And that was kind of this perfect pairing with caring so much about what other people thought. So I was always just doing things for other people, listening to what other people had to say about me, like taking people's thoughts into consideration about me and using that to morph myself and change myself and mold myself into someone that I wasn't authentically. And I honestly did this all through high school, mostly all through college. And then what I really found as the tipping point for me when I look back of like, when did I have that moment of like, oh my God, I need to stop caring what other people think. Like this is something I actively need to work on, is after I made my breakthrough into the Instagram and blogging world in 2015 as a food and wellness blogger. It was like at the end of my freshman year of college. And I was home for the summer and I'd started this blog and I was like posting food photos and stuff on Instagram. And it kind of felt like the safe bubble because I'm like, it's the summer. I'm like not around anyone from school, whatever. And I went to this like party get together thing with people from high school. I was at this party and a guy was like, oh, I like saw your food like Instagram. And I was like, this porch needs to suck me into it, take me to the depths of the earth. Like I was so mortified by it. And then it made me start overthinking where I'm like, shit, I'm going to go back to school in a couple months to college. Everyone's going to know. Like, everyone's going to know. And what am I going to do? And there was a moment where I was like, all right, that's it. No more blog for me. No more Instagram. That has got to go. Like, that's got to go. And the 2015 Instagram era is so funny because, like, there were not reels, there were not stories. Like, we were just posting grainy photos, like super edited of like a smoothie bowl, but then I was like trauma dumping in the caption. I was like bearing my soul on Instagram with my smoothie bowls and my like little gluten-free recipes and stuff. But I was being super vulnerable on the internet about health, about my journey, about whatever, right? My life. And it was in that moment though that made me be like, I'm kind of at this fork in the road where I could quit. I could keep going on this path and going on where other people's opinions are always placed above my own opinions, my desires, my own thoughts, whatever, what I want out of life. Or I can finally say, fuck it, work on why I care so much about what other people think because I know something I'm super passionate about. And that is what I feel like there felt like such a weight to it because I was like, I have to quit because people are going to think it's weird. But it was the first time I really had something that I was like, no, I'm like actually so passionate and excited about this blog I've started and this food Instagram and this wellness community. Like, I can't give that up. So I need to work on the thing that's standing in my way, and that is caring what other people think. And one of the biggest things that I've really recognized on this journey of truly letting go of other people's opinions is go through those moments where I'm like, wow, I am like really focusing on external validation, external opinions, what I think people may be saying, etc. It's always when I am feeling unrooted in myself. And when I look back on my journey and the times when I was the most insecure and cared so much about what other people thought and never took 2 seconds to wonder what I thought about myself, is the common theme is I was not rooted in myself at all. And there's so many reasons for this. I was afraid to sit with my thoughts and sit with my feelings growing up. Especially also in college. I went through a huge loss freshman year. I was dealing with a lot of grief, did not know how to process that in a healthy, sustainable way. And I was so scared of sitting with those thoughts and emotions and just like not taking the time to get to know yourself. And we will get to that later. But the more we are unrooted in ourselves, like think about a plant. If there's no roots, any wind that blows, that little plant, like if my little tomato plant out there didn't have roots, the breeze we're having today would freaking knock it over. The rain would then knock it another way. Maybe the dog walks by and its tail hits it. It's going to freaking fall again. Think of all the things, the wind, the rain, the breeze, the dog's tail. Those are all people's opinions. And if there aren't roots, yeah, you're going to get battered and bruised and like pushed over here and pushed over there. And you're not going to have those roots into yourself of, no, this is who I know I am. So any opinion someone throws at you, negative, positive, neutral, you're just going to be like, oh, you're right, that's who I am. Oh my God, you're right, that's who I am. Because you have no context of who you actually are internally. Those roots are not there to ground you. So other people's opinions, instead of just like washing over you, like maybe still having a little impact, it's like quite literally like pushing your body around. Not literally, but like metaphorically. And this is where the antidote, is that how you say that word? Antidote? To caring so much about what other people think comes in. And that is self-trust. And not just self-trust of like, this is who I know I am, but also self-trust in the decisions you make and the way you live your life and enjoy living your life, the boundaries you put up, you know, saying no when you mean no, saying yes when you mean yes. The more you can build this self-trust muscle, the less it matters what other people think. And it's kind of this like positive self-fulfilling cycle, because the only way to build more self-trust is to go with what your gut says, even when you're afraid, even when you're afraid what people will say, and then seeing that like the world doesn't crumble. So for example, I used to have such a hard time trusting my decisions, whether that was a decision to cancel a social plan or a decision to pivot in life or career or whatever. And so much of this inability to listen and trust myself in these decisions was because I was afraid of what other people were going to say, how they were going to perceive it. So with that example, let's say for canceling a social plan, or let's say saying no to a social plan. So a big thing for me that I was really insecure about at first in high school, or I mean in college, sorry, was when I made the decision to no longer drink and honestly no longer go out even really other than once in a blue moon, but really this decision to not drink. And at first, I was so insecure in that decision. So every time, like a Friday night rolled around, a Saturday night, I was like back and forth in my brain of like, what is the right decision to make? Like, oh my God, should I go? Should I not? Should I say yes? Should I, back and forth. And I could not for the life of me trust the decision. And then even if I did decide whether it was to go out or stay in, I felt like so unsettled in that decision. And it was simply because instead of simply weighing what's going to make me feel my best physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I was weighing, what are my roommates going to think? What are the people in my sorority going to think? What is this random dude going to think? Whatever. And that's why I felt unsettled, because my self-trust was, again, getting kind of like tossed around, caring about other people's opinions. But the more that I would listen to my gut and intuition, take the time to do that, and just trust the decision I was making. So if I was like, no, I'm feeling this in my body right now, it's a hard no. I don't want to go out. I wanted to have an early night. I wanted to work on my blog. That was like my favorite thing to do on a Friday, Saturday night in college, which tells you so much about me. The more that I made that decision, I'm like, I'm not going to go out. I want to work on my blog, or I'm going to do homework, or I'm just going to go to bed early because I want to run in the morning. The easier it got, because I saw that, yeah, people have their opinions about it. And I recognize that's not my responsibility. Like, that is one of the biggest things that helped me build that self-trust in myself, what I like, and my decisions and my boundaries, was recognizing that other people's reaction to my decisions, my boundaries, trusting myself, was not my responsibility. Like, that was out of my hands. The only thing in my hands was the decision I was making, the way I was showing up, the way I was treating people, obviously, but the other people's reactions to those decisions was not my issue, was not my responsibility, was not my thing to hold. And that was so helpful in building that self-trust, because the more I just made those decisions that were true and honest to myself, to who I knew I was, to who I knew I wanted to be, the life I wanted to live, the way I wanted to feel in my life, the more I saw like the world doesn't blow up when I make those decisions and trust myself, even if people get upset, even if people don't get it, even if people are annoyed, even if people judge me, think I'm boring, think whatever they want to think. The world didn't blow up. Like, I'm still myself. And that actually felt really good to stay in on a Friday. So let me do that again, and let me do that again. And you slowly build this confidence up, because you are just following what you know is your truth, like your North Star. And the more you do it, it builds that muscle. And yeah, the first couple times of trusting yourself and your decisions and boundaries, gonna feel probably kind of shitty, gonna feel super uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. And every time you choose your truth, you are adding a brick to this like foundation of self-trust and who you know you are meant to be, and how you like to live your life. And the greatest thing about building this self-trust is you start to honor and believe your inner voice more than the external noise, the external validation, voices, opinions. And that slowly but surely then also makes you realize, like, wait, I have everything I need inside of myself. Like, I trust in this voice inside of myself. I don't need to be so swayed by other people's opinions outside of me, or thoughts about my life, my decisions, who I am, what I wear, whatever it is that you care so much about other people's opinions, because you're starting to put your own inner voice over the voice of others. And one of the best ways to start feeling more comfortable, feeling more confident, trusting yourself, listening to yourself, getting to know yourself, is building a relationship with yourself. This was the hugest pivot point, hugest game changer in my journey of letting go of other people's opinions and not caring so much about everyone around me, and actually like building a life for myself and living the life that I actually wanted to live, and wasn't dictated by what other people were thinking of me or saying about me. Was taking the time, intentional time, to build a relationship with myself. It's kind of like if you think about, you have only hung out with someone once or twice in a group setting, you're going to be a lot more swayed about that person if other people are like, oh, I actually heard that she's like kind of rude and she like whatever, like has these values we don't align with, you're like, oh my God, okay, you're right. And then if this person over here is talking in your ear about that person, you're kind of like, oh my God, I didn't like think about that because you don't know that person very well, right? So it's again super easy. You're not rooted in that friendship. You don't have roots within that person. So what other people say about them, you're kind of like, wow, that is kind of like the only context I have. It's the same with you. You do not spend time with yourself and have an intentional relationship with yourself where you are building a bond and roots within yourself, like we talked about earlier. Same thing. People are talking in your ear about yourself, or you're just wondering what other people say because you don't have roots in the friendship with yourself and the relationship with yourself. So that is honestly like the first step in building that self-trust, releasing others' opinions, like having a relationship with yourself. And what does this look like? For me, starting my morning routine was how I did this because I was carving out intentional time that I was treating like a non-negotiable. I was truly treating this as like you are getting up, you are spending time with yourself. For me, meditation, journaling, reading, movement. Not saying I do all of those things every day, but it's like my morning ritual toolbox, I guess you could say, depending on how I feel that day and what I want, how good my book is. Sometimes just reading takes precedent, right? And at that time in my life too, I was like big in my personal development book journey. I just also found like crystals and spirituality. And so pulling oracle cards and just pouring into myself and letting go of this fear, getting over this hump I had about sitting with my emotions, sitting with myself. And a lot of this also came more so also post grad when I also started therapy and was just exploring so much about myself, my patterns, my thoughts, my desires, my dreams, whatever. Having time for myself every morning was the biggest game changer because I also then started my day even more rooted in that relationship with myself. So then throughout the day, I was just more grounded in life in general, but also in myself. And doing these practices like meditation and journaling, pulling cards, kind of diving into what spirituality is for me, going on walks without music, or going on walks and listening to walking meditation, spiritual music like Trevor Hall and things like that. I just started kind of like sinking into myself and observing in myself and noticing and learning things about myself, making connections of like, oh, this is why I get triggered by this, or this is my attachment style, or, just learning so much about also how I process the world, how my brain worked, everything, right? And this time with myself helped me just get to know myself. And the better you get to know yourself, the easier it becomes to accept yourself, respect yourself, love yourself. Like when we think about self-love, we feel like it's like fluffy and it's like face masked, but it's like at the end of the day, you have to know yourself to love yourself. And more importantly than loving yourself is like you have to respect yourself. And having self-respect is also one of the most pivotal foundational pieces of like not giving a shit of what other people think of you because you respect yourself more than that. And you respect yourself more than anyone else could ever respect you. I know some people struggle with spending time alone because it can feel lonely or awkward or scary. And at first, yeah, for sure, I was literally terrified to spend time with myself because I had locked away a lot of shit and a lot of trauma and a lot of emotions. And as much as that was hard to deal with, and it did bring up a lot, learning through those things and learning who I'd become through those things and like letting myself evolve past where I kind of got stagnant in those things. Like for so long, I talked about like I feel like I'm stuck at 18 because that is when a very big trauma in my life happened, my freshman year of college. And I felt like I couldn't move past that until I finally like learned to sit with myself and talk to myself in not a weird way and like, listen to my thoughts and sit in silence and slow down. And like time alone is not loneliness. It is self-connection, and having self-connection without your phone. Let me say that, without your phone, not filming. Also, if you are a content creator, like actually just having time with yourself is pivotal because this is going to, again, help you have those deep roots we talked about within yourself. Like you are just going to know yourself at such a deep level, therefore get to accept the things that maybe feel harder to accept, embrace the things you do love about yourself, and just have this really strong core sense of self, your values, who you are, what you like, what you don't like, the way you want to live your life. And therefore, people's opinions bounce off of you more easily. And this doesn't just have to look like a morning routine. This can also be going on more walks, spending time on yourself in the evening, like whatever it looks like, but actually prioritizing a relationship with yourself. Take yourself out on a date. Go have a solo day of like doing all your favorite things. Go thrifting, get a coffee, take yourself out to lunch, go to the bookstore. I'm just describing my perfect solo day. But do those things with yourself, and you'll notice at first when you start doing things alone, your brain's probably like, oh, what do people think? I'm out at lunch alone. I'm out reading a book at coffee alone. No one cares, first of all. Literally no one cares. But again, also the more you do that, the more you spend time alone, and spend time alone in a way that maybe makes you feel a little uncomfortable because your brain is wanting to hear what other people think, the more you realize, again, the world doesn't blow up. No one cares. If they do care, that is their responsibility and not yours. And with this, spending more time with yourself, building that self-trust is also forming your own opinions of yourself. A concept that changed my life was when I read the book, The Four Agreements. I feel like so many of us have probably read that. Such a classic, right? I feel like that was like the Four Agreements, Untethered Soul, Power of Now, like all those books were, the start of my kind of self-development, self-discovery journey, if you will. And there is a concept talked about in this book where he talks about truth systems. And basically he's saying how everyone has their own truth system. And our truth system is the way we perceive the world. And it is built up from our experiences, how we grew up, our values, our thoughts, our opinions, like the way, basically saying like our truth system is the lens in which we see the world. And everyone's truth system is going to be different because we grew up differently, we have different experiences, different traumas, different values, different brains, all the things. And something he was saying in the book is someone else's opinion of you is a part of their truth system. It is the lens in which they view you, but it doesn't have to be a part of your truth system. That blew my mind when I read that. And I was like, oh my God, it felt like this permission slip of like, I don't have to consider other people's opinions of me. Like I don't. I have a strong sense of self in my truth system. So that is why it's so important that you do create your own opinion of yourself. Positive. Sometimes, we are human and I don't always have a fully positive opinion of myself, but I do know my core opinion of myself is positive, and that lives within my truth system. So other people's opinions of me, yeah, they can have them. That can be a part of their truth system, but it's not going to penetrate my truth system. I think of my truth system as like this bubble around me. And I know my opinion of myself, the love, respect, support I have for myself is like held sacred and safe within my truth system. And other people's opinions of me just like bounce off my truth system, right? And I also think it's such a fun activity to like draw that out. Draw yourself, draw a little bubble around you that's your truth system and really think like, what has built my truth system? Like, what is my opinion of myself? Get curious. And at first, maybe it's not great. I used to have a lot of self-hatred. I will also say that. I feel like I need to do a whole episode also on my journey with that of like, I was so mean to myself. I was so hard on myself, especially in college. I don't like talk about this a ton on the internet anymore. But maybe if I'm like in the spirit of always sharing everything on the internet, right? I always talk vulnerably because I'm like, if I can help someone else. But I struggled with an eating disorder late teens, early 20s. I had kind of struggled with it laying dormant, I feel like honestly, through high school, everything. I think it's a big part of growing up as a competitive dancer. I think that definitely negatively impacted my view of body and food and all of that. But I digress. I'm like any other traumatized competitive dancers. Hit me up in the comments. But I struggled a lot with that self-hatred and self-loathing of who I was, my body, but then also loathing the way that I treated myself and was hurting myself through that process. And so when I first was like grappling with like, what is my opinion of myself? First, it wasn't like Sunshine Rainbow's amazing, love myself, respect myself. At first I was like, wow, I am staring at myself in the mirror and there's some ugly parts of me and there's some ugly shit that I need to deal with. So I did. So I sat with it. I cried through it. I processed it. I went to therapy, energy healing, all of the things. And over time, that opinion evolves. Like who I was in that start of my self-discovery journey is so different from who I am now at 29. Out and proud. Know that I'm neurodivergent now. Like my opinion has evolved over time as it does, as we evolve and grow. But starting that process of building your own opinion of yourself is so pivotal. And I feel like so many of us don't even stop to take the time. Like, it seems like this easy thing. Well, like, of course I have an opinion of myself, but it's like, when was the last time you actually paused and journaled about that, drew it out, thought through that truly, and recognized like, oh, wow, actually, my opinion of myself is built up by all the opinions of these people around me, or what my parents said when I was younger, or my teachers, or my coaches, or what my coworkers say about me, or my work report says about me. And you recognize like, oh, this is actually not an opinion I have of myself. This is an opinion built off of the opinion of others. And it's so eye-opening to do that. And it makes it so much easier than when someone tosses an opinion at you to be like, yeah, no, that actually does not align with the opinion I have of myself. And I trust my opinion of myself, right? That self-trust. I trust the ways I reflect, the ways I sit with myself. Like, for example, I know I'm a very hardworking, motivated person, sometimes to a fault. I need to slow the fuck down sometimes, but I know that I work hard. If someone I heard through the grapevine or someone to me was like, dude, you've gotten kind of lazy. At first, maybe I would feel a little triggered because I know I'm hardworking. Like, I would be triggered because I'm like, no, that does not align with the opinion I have of my truth system. But that would actually cut deep. I wouldn't go home and be like, oh my God, I'm a lazy piece of shit, because I know I'm not. Like, I literally just know I'm not. I would be like, that's like just so not true, because I know myself. I sit with myself every day. I know my opinion of myself. See what I'm saying? It's like the opinion you create adds to that truth system, adds to that self-trust. It's this bubble around you where people's opinions just don't matter. Same with like what you wear or how you express yourself. At the end of the day, like, your life has to feel good to you. And the only way for your life to feel good is if you're living it authentically, right? Like, you're dressing the way you want to dress. You're doing your makeup the way you want to do your makeup. You're, embracing your sexuality in the way that you want. You are saying yes to things you want to say yes to, saying no to the things that don't align, doing what you feel is actually fun on the weekends. And the more you do that, again, it builds that self-trust, right? And then the bricks in that foundation of self-trust. But it also just shows you more and more and more these like positive affirmations, or reaffirming. What am I trying to say? Like, reaffirm, I guess you could say, in a positive way. Let like life really is truly just meant to feel good to you. And when we are caring about other people's opinions, it doesn't feel good because we end up living a life that's not authentic. For me, a big thing that I can still sometimes have this little insecurity about and care is, I'm like, oh my God, the people think my life is boring. Like, am I boring? Because I'm 29, I'm such a homebody. I sometimes struggle with socialization because with ADHD it feels overwhelming. I do not drink. I do not go out. Literally put me in bed at 8:30 p.m. with my show, my tea, and my girlfriend. Like, maybe a gluten-free cookie if I'm getting crazy, right? Maybe a matching pajama set if we're getting even crazier, because I'm a big t-shirt girl. And, I love to travel, but it also feels like a really big task for me. And whatever, just these things where I see other people my age in their 20s, which I feel like now approaching 30, I'm like, can I still say that? But I am in my 20s for a few more months. And I see people that are like living nomadic lifestyles, traveling so freaking much all the time. Even if they're not full-time traveling, it's like weekend trips all the time. They're going out, they're like going to events, they're going to concerts, they're just like go, go, go. And I'll have these moments where I'm like, oh my God, am I boring? Do my friends think I'm boring? Do people on the internet think I'm boring? And then I come back to like, no, because I know who I am and I know my opinion of myself, and my life feels good. Like, my life feels good right now. Staying in on the weekends feels good. Going to bed early feels good. Prioritizing my running on the weekend and time with my girlfriend and gardening in our yard feels good. And that's all that matters. And I would not be able to get to that place if I didn't know myself, take time with myself, and prioritize my own opinion of myself over the opinion of others. Because when we care what other people think, we start living for other people, which I know sounds so cliche, but it's so true. And it is so funny too. Like, one of my, I feel like one of my things where I'm like, wow, I really don't care what people think. And especially when it's people like randomly in public, because that's the other thing. When someone has an opinion of me, of course, if it is like a really dear, close friend and they're like, I had constructive criticism, or I feel like you haven't been present in our friendship, of course I'm going to like take that into consideration, have a conversation. I'm not going to be like, that does not fit my opinion of myself, because sometimes we need like some reality checks or hard conversations. But if someone that I'm not close with, or they're a stranger, like, literally, why would I care? Like, me, I'm dancing at the grocery store. I'm doing whatever I grew up with a dad that was boogieing down in the grocery store, and I would get so embarrassed as a kid. I would be like, stop. Like, I would get so annoyed. And it's one of my biggest regrets in life is telling my dad to stop dancing in the grocery store, because now I'm 29. and I'm grooving, especially the Sprouts. They're always playing some good throwbacks. And I will be dancing in the aisles and I don't care. Like, I don't care. If people think that's weird or embarrassing, whatever, because they're not someone that I care about their opinion, because I'm also never going to see them again. And it's not always going to be easy. Like, releasing other people's opinions, pushing through the discomfort of being who you want to be, trusting yourself over other people, wearing what you want to wear, whatever that looks like for you, coming out, like embracing your sexuality. And it's not always going to be easy. Like, there's going to be moments where it feels impossible. There are going to be moments where you do care too much about what other people think, and that's okay. But it's all about slowly building a foundation where it just gets easier and easier to move through those moments and move through the discomfort and move through hearing other opinions and being like, you know what? No, like, I'm actually, that feels uncomfortable. That's hurtful. But I'm going to like take some time with myself, be able to be less like reactive of other people's opinions as well. But it's a journey. Like, it takes time. I feel like every year I learn more and more about myself that helps me care less. And then I have seasons where I care a little more. And that's typically because I'm not pouring into myself enough. I'm not taking enough time with myself. I'm on social media too much, all of that. Because the thing is people are always going to have opinions of you, but it's not your job to carry them. It is not your job to put them in your little heart box and hold them close. It's not your job to integrate them into your truth system. Your only job is building a life that feels good for you, getting to know yourself on a deep level, creating an opinion of yourself that feels good and nourishing and, growth oriented. And other people's opinions, like, they're just not your responsibility. And I think one of the biggest things is remembering it's not all or nothing. Like, people's opinions, even when you start working on your relationship with yourself, you have this strong inner truth system now. People's opinions of you can still hurt, and they don't have to dictate your actions. People's opinions of you can hurt, and they don't have to change the way you perceive yourself. People's opinions can hurt, and it's not your responsibility to try to convince them otherwise. So just remembering it's not black or white, all or nothing. Like, it's okay if you're still impacted by other people's opinions, but just making sure that your actions then do not change because of it. You don't try to change yourself to be more likable for that person. And that at the end of the day, you're coming home to yourself and leaving their opinions out the door. And that is what I have for today. I could probably talk about this topic for like ever. And I'd love to hear how this hit for you, how this landed for you. And if you are in a season of just feeling kind of bogged down by other people's opinions around you, worrying. I also feel like in a lot of transitionary periods, that's really easy because you feel a little less grounded. I think that's why for me, especially like transitioning into college and then into post-grad, those were times where I cared a lot. Just, I'm sending you so much love, and no matter how old you are hearing this and listening to this, like, it's never too late to put those roots into yourself, into your own truth system, self-trust, your own opinion of yourself. And my challenge for you is to just start carving out more time to get to know yourself, like truly sit with yourself and start really reflecting on your own opinion. Maybe draw it out, like I said, the stick figure and the truth bubble, and like what is truly a part of your truth system that, makes you who you are and is kind of like your superpower and your shield against what other people think. And just getting really intentional when you are making decisions on what to wear. You're making decisions on saying yes to a social plan or not, to going out or not, whatever it looks like. Just be really intentional and slow with it, and truly start asking yourself before decisions, before getting dressed, whatever it looks like, of like, is this actually me? Am I doing this because I want to do this, I want to wear this, I want to embrace this opportunity, or am I doing it so that others think better of me? Am I doing it because I'm afraid of what other people will say if I do something different? So those are my parting thoughts for you, your parting homework, if you will. And I'm just super excited to have some conversations around these topics with y'all. As always, my DMs are open in the show notes. As always, I will put the podcast's Instagram as well as my Instagram, my TikTok, all of that. And I'm always open to discussions, especially if something in the podcast, hits home for you or brings something up for you, or you have further questions. questions. I can only say so much in one podcast episode, but I would love to continue these conversations elsewhere. I'm always an open book to talk about my journey if it helps you, or help you kind of sort through things in your own journey. I'm always here for that. So thank you so much, so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode.